Hello, my name is Brian Terrell, the founder and CEO of VFXnow and GPL Technologies. I'm here with Jay Rowan. Jay, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name is Jay Rowan, Director of Hardware as a Service at VFXnow. Currently, obviously, run VFXnow and all of our needs when it comes to rentals and certain sales and an aspect of providing high-powered equipment to our customers. My background is variable. I've been in the media and entertainment industry for going on 15 years now, and it's been an incredible journey that landed me at VFXnow last year, and it's been a great ride. Obviously, I've been in and out of IT workflows, production, post workflows, and really have had a chance to kind of explore different avenues of this industry and have really found a great home being able to make the customer connections here at VFXnow.
Absolutely. Jay set the record as a side note for the fastest hire ever, especially for an executive. We were able to get him on board in 22 hours.
Excellent work.
Is an amazing president of VFX now, but he wanted to be more in the trenches, working closely with integration, setting up studios again, and be able to hang out with clients and think about long-term vision. And so when he decided he wanted to make a shift, we were able to call Jay um, and have him onboarded that morning. We had been hanging out with Jay. He was a client briefly, and then he had a bit of a sabbatical, and it was nice to spend time with him at NAB, walking around, making sure we saw the world the same way. And when this opportunity came, Georgie and I knew exactly who to call, and I'm glad we did. So thank you, Jay, for really doing it the VFXnow GPL way, which is you just go at production speed.
Absolutely. It's a fast-paced workflow, so there's no time to make a decision. You have deadlines, and let's make it happen. It's kind of the
Yeah,
name of the
we're
game.
bored in any other setting.
Yeah.
our, our clients as crazy as we are. We love it. So I'm just going to go right to the biggest question I have, because Jay and we talk all day, but we don't really get to sit down and talk. And so this is nice. Jay, how is it possible we built a $30,000 workstation? So imagine that you're an owner, you come to your warehouse and you see your guys have built a $30,000 workstation. I didn't have many questions at the time. I was like, okay, guys, but now I do. So how did we build a $30,000 workstation?
Well, it actually while it seems um, very broad, it's a very simple solution is that we had a customer that came to us with a very high performance need, and we did our due diligence to determine the best product that we can supply to them. And so we supplied it and they tested it and it didn't quite work out. So we got it back but we built them three new solutions. So the cool thing is it gave us an opportunity to really touch on some of the latest and greatest technology in the CPUs. And this $30,000 workstation is using the Epic Genoa CPU. Um, and as you guys know, it's a powerhouse when it comes to server grade, and we put it in a workstation. So it's not doesn't have to sit in a server room. It can sit anywhere. And I think that was really exciting for us because it was a step up from some of the high performance workstations we already provide. It's something that we can provide insanely high level CPU directly to a consumer or a professional or a creative. It kind of fit in line with multiple avenues. So I think the excitement to build such a computer came with just our knowledge of growth and R&D in our industry and knowing kind of what's next is that there's always a high powered need out there. You're always going to need something. Let's build this and see where it goes.
So it sounds like most of the cost was in the processor.
Yeah, most of it was in the processor, I would say, and it's a dual proc system. So in that case, it adds up pretty quickly. Um, and other than that, one of the things that we want to look forward to with it is adding liquid cooling or adding something that's going to kind of advance it to be quieter and so forth. But yeah, it's a great system at the end of the day, and it's 96 cores per processor.
Oh my
So
God.
that adds up really quickly. And just right now, that system has made its way to a developer who is using the platform kind of outside of M&E to develop on his own software. And take that high powered need and just watch it grow. And so far the performance has been fantastic. So when we looked at that $30,000 workstation, it was aimed for creative, and then we found ways to branch it out and say, okay, this is very similar to what other needs might be in the world. And we were able to find a home for it and let them see it and literally hear the great performance that you have with such a system. And the beauty of it is it's on rental. So there's no obligation right now for somebody to spend $30,000 on it. It essentially right now is a very cheap cost to for such power you get when you compare it to either certain cloud costs or anything. You can have this on-prem and compete, which is great.
How many video cards did it have? Do you recall?
We typically ship with one. But when our testing, we sat it with an RTX 4090, one of our favorite cards right now. Just with the great performance of the Ada Lovelace architecture, it's kind of a no-brainer. But then some cases, much like now, we have a really low-end card in there, just one, because it's the focus is CPU. And when depending on the need, if you need a little bit more balance of graphical and CPU compute, we can add a bigger card, but for certain needs, this guy maybe has a 16 gig graphics card and barely utilizing it, but really taking advantage of the CPU. So the great thing is you can kind of leverage the different components as needed.
That's amazing. Wow. I mean, that almost sounds like we should consider that offline for production in a box.
Absolutely.
It almost feels like a data center in the box with 96 cores per proc. That's almost 200 cores.
Yep.
Definitely do a lot of compute. Switching to something more common. What would you say is our most popular workstation that VFXnow offers?
Yeah, we have quite a few, but there's a flagship. I think there always is a flagship, and we find that in our Threadripper systems. These considered to be for us some of the best medium where we can supply a balance of CPU and GPU that fits not only in a creative workflow, but it fits in operations. It fits in anywhere that you kind of need a high performance system to handle this type of compute. So our base is a 3970X with a 4090 or two 4090s right now
Well,
is a real solid system. So if you're a creative and you leverage both of those GPUs for what you're doing, you get the CPU performance, the memory, the storage, and these awesome cards that are just going to chug along. It's one of those systems where we hand it off to somebody, they use it, and they get really excited almost in a week later of using it to just be like, wow, this is fantastic. It's increasing my workflow. They get another one. They now have a solid render farm, or they have a solid AI training model, for example, or something they can use for that. But the grand thing about I've been looking at with a lot of our hardware is that while we are focused in M&E, the hardware itself is compatible with a lot of other spaces.
that's amazing. And I agree. I think that we're going to do a separate clip after this. We're going to talk about AI. Also, we're doing a lot with gaming. And honestly, gaming now has become what render farms used to be. There was a day when we first started the company where we were ordering $1 million a pool of equipment and people were consuming 100 render nodes at a time. And so we were literally shipping 6 feet of metal out the door off of like an eighth, we were on the eighth floor of this building in Koreatown. And we're shipping out trucks of render all over town. And we eventually stopped investing heavily in render farm because there is a day where you're like, okay, cloud doesn't have power requirements, it doesn't have cable requirements, it's a bit more expensive, but just to clean, you shut it down when you're done, it's not a monthly cost. We really see that a hybrid approach is best, having 80% and go to the cloud. But for a lot of our rental customers, they'd rather just pass that cost on to the studio and have easier maintenance. So we are doing render farm, but nothing like we used to. There's just sometimes we have to be smart about where we really fit in our clients' needs. Flame as one of those products that's after 20 or so years has come down from a machine the size of my refrigerator down to a Mac Mini. If somebody was, if some of our clients are left to their own devices, they would run a Flame on a Mac Mini. But what is the reality of Flame these days? Like where's the sweet spot for Flame?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of obviously Linux is kind of a more recommended side if you really, really want a headless, low, like, kind of ass system. Linux does a very good job at handling Flame, but obviously Mac as well. And I think a good place for Flame right now has been on Mac Studios. To be honest. They're very powerful systems going from the M1 Ultra up to the M2. I'm sure we'll see a Mac Studio M3 some point soon. And whether, Flame will pick up to support that. But, with Flame being very intensive, more base kind of CPU, a good mixture of hybrid of GPU performance too. And living on Mac has really stepped up, I want to say, in the professional world with the studios. They've always had a professional side of it, always very expensive. But the beauty of it is that they do provide a product that's going to work. And I know Flame and like Autodesk have worked really hard to ensure that both Linux and Mac are solid hand in hand with each other on it. And they've also added developments so that you can jump into AWS. You can put it on an instance or in a cloud workflow that you have. Um, and then for family project rendering, so forth, that's all, available as well. I think what I see though is, I really enjoy the Mac Studios as a good ground for running a Flame workflow. It seems to just sit very well with the performance, and most of the time in a couple Flame apps, I haven't had much ask. Other than that, though, if we do Ubuntu, we have a lot of other options too, where I've seen Flame kind of push on um, kind of like a solid Lenovo system because they're very reliable. And you have all the dedicated performance that Lenovo's worked really hard in packing this all in a single box. So the Lenovo P620 with the Threadripper Pro is an absolute workhorse, both in productivity and creativity. So, there's a lot of mixed options, and Flame, of course, is a standard of some of the workflows of today. And so that's typically where we sit and push. And we've seen a lot of success with those two.
Wow, that's amazing. Where are we at with editorial systems? What's
Yeah, it's a new breed, I want to say, for VFXnow, and thankfully I've been able to pack a lot of video experience in my day and AV engineering, so it's relatively simple. The idea is that our systems can support editorial, and then whether you need a full bay is where we can kind of branch out, work to build, get different ideas for you, and so forth. So any of our hardware can be used for editorial systems. They are a little bit more lower end depending on that, and of course with your storage requirement, the video you're working in, are you working in a proxy workflow, you're working in high res. It depends on if you're in an online, offline, of course, and we do see different solutions for either or. But yeah, I mean, editorial is not something far from achieving, which is great because it really uses similar hardware, and then setting up everything to get your AVIO is all very simplistic. And while VFX now, has this VFX grounded focus, we can still use the same hardware as I mentioned before to branch beyond. And so whether you're in Avid or whether you're in Premiere, um, you name it, you're talking on DaVinci or on working through there, we definitely always have systems that can support that.
yeah. I mean, it really sounds like we need editorial rentals now. Um, to really push out that we are in the editorial game now. In terms of cloud, what are we doing to help people with cloud? We have a couple different options.
Yeah, we sure do. We kind of a great solution that we have pushed for a while now is our Studio on Demand. And this can be built in obviously an AWS world. This can be built in the VFX Now Cloud, which is a supporting lower cost solution that utilizes rental hardware and things like that to actually build an environment for you. So the couple options, Studio on Demand is fantastic because it's an accessible anywhere. You're putting it in a data center that's really solid. You don't have to worry about anything going on, but you get the workstations, you get the performance, and you kind of get that price transparency of what it's going to cost. Um, for the VFX Now cloud side, we try and bring that down because we all know that cloud expenses are very hard to manage in some of these providers. And we know that instead of just seeing a baseline flat rate, you can see very skyrocketing cost. Or maybe it's going to cost you to put data in and data out. So for us, we wanted to come up with a solution in the VFXnow cloud that offers a $0 ingress egress and a flat rate for the rental hardware each month. And it really provides a competitive solution so that you can still log into the VFXnow cloud using your preferred access method. And we would build that and support that for you. It could be scaled in that case. If you need 5 more workstations, you have 5 more artists, that's something we can spin up and do it at just a simple request. And we try and aim to do that at that cost-effective flat rate, so that way it's fully transparent to your goals and your workflow and your budget, which I think is very important in today's day and age when people are taking on projects and trying to scale and understand the full scope of it. This gives them a clean cost, say, hey, I need 20 workstations. Can I have this available? Can I use Teradici to access? You name it. Absolutely. That's something that's never far-fetched. And it's essentially us just building a little environment for you. So, we do have a couple options there. Both of them are on demand, which is great. And then utilizing either any of the existing cloud providers or going hosting in our data center. So yeah, a couple great, real awesome options there if you don't want to have anything on-prem and you want access from far or from anywhere.
That's right. And I just want to say, I've had a lot of conversations with our CTO, Jason Bloom of GPL Technologies. And what we found is that I stopped counting at 400 studios, and that was a couple of years ago. We're probably 450, 500 now. It's a lot. And what we've figured is that no two have ever been the same. The only thing that's the same is the line of business applications, but the way that those are configured, the fonts, the plugins, the licensing is the same these days, but everything is custom. And so we're not seeing success in the market for people that offer a firm studio in the box. And so it was our decision at VFXnow to offer a custom studio in a box because everybody wants it their way and nobody wants to be told what to do. And everybody's workflow is sacred to them. And it's changes after every project. Like after every project we learn, we get smarter and we iterate. And so through iteration, it's important that we're able to iterate with you guys. And so it's very important that we don't offer a cookie cutter. Now, do we have VMs? Yes. Do we have pre-made images? Yes. Do we know how to set up deadline? Do we have tools customized? Yeah, we have that. But what we don't have is you just log into a portal and then it's working. Instead with us, you do log into a portal and it's working, but it's Leo Stream. We try not to be somebody who pretends that they have more custom than they do. Like this is off the shelf stuff, it's integrated and it's ready to scale. And honestly, as a side note here, my favorite story was from my buddy at Saatchi & Saatchi. He was in charge of technology and he would be in charge of going out to shops and looking at the technology to advise the Saatchi team if this is good tech or not. He shows up and this company had claimed to written their own tool. He shows up and he's like, this is Nuke. And that was the best example of this culture when you have people who are trying to pretend that they put in more R&D into a product than they actually did. So for us, extreme honesty is best. And after nearly 400 studios or more than 400 studios, it's just listening to our clients, understanding where they're hoping to go and why they want to do things the way they do, and then pushing back where we think we can make it better, but collaborating with the client in order to push it forward. And that's really important to us.
Absolutely.
And you've been the best at that, Jay. I've been really impressed. So thank you. If someone's interested in owning their workstation opposed to renting it, or renting it then owning it, how do we help people?
It's very simple. We don't want to focus fully on rental. If you're finding something that is really performing well for your workflow, and much like you said, Brian, each workflow differs across all, 450, 500 different studios. Every single studio does have a different workflow requirement. So we kind of consider that when we talk to our customers who are inquiring about rental needs. And more often than not, if they want a long-term rental, we try and put in a solution there and say, hey, you can buy this out during your rental and we'll take 50% off of what you paid as a discount. So we want to make incentives happen on top of that rent to own option. So before your rental, if you believe that this is a long-term need and you might really want this, what we can do is obviously come up with terms, and your monthly payment will actually be paying towards the purchase of the system. And that's effective through just us handling financing, where we take on the interest and anything like that. And it basically allows you, after a certain period that works best for you, to own your equipment with no extra fees, no obligation. It's all transparent from the get-go. And I think that that's really important because um, while you can tell us that it's good, but sometimes, more often than not, it's financing that's a little bit unknown and transparent already. When you're renting a system, you kind of come in with the designation that I don't necessarily need this for long term. I just want to rent this for a good period of time and then not own the hardware so that I can give back to you and then I can maybe get something new. But that's the beauty of it, is that we also will offer upgrade plans. So if you're renting and you just don't want to own your equipment, we'll work with you and your workflow to say, okay, cool, maybe after a year, you're ready to swap out and get some newer hardware so that you can stay updated with technology. Because that's the beauty of us, is that we're consistently in R&D and we're consistently acquiring, which means that our focus is to get this high quality equipment that you guys might not be able to get your hand on, but we'll have the availability and we're happy to upgrade that. So the couple options of rent to own or buying out is there. You can obviously do a direct purchase through us, so not just rentals, but if there's something you really like within our hardware, I'm also happy to offer trials. So, if you're local to the area or things like that, and you wanted to test something out before having this grand decision of either a continuous rental, a buyout, or anything like that, this trial period allows you to test the hardware, make sure it's going to fit in, and then obviously the decision is yours. So a lot of good incentives there to hand this over for you, not own the equipment, or if you want to own the equipment, just contact us and we basically will do whatever we can to make sure it works with you, works with your budget, and go from there.
Amazing. How do we offer custom workstation configurations? Like what are our primary? Because I don't think it's possible in an interview to talk about every single, but what are some broad strokes and how we work?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be in like a 24-hour interview if we did that. But the broad strokes for developing custom workstation, it comes in two parts. It either comes in a customer need or it comes in us working in R&D. So as an example, we have recently built a gaming system that kind of is an all-around creative. It really packs a punch. And we designed this on our own using the parts and things that we thought were going to be best. But on top of that, when we come to a customer and they're looking for a very specific need, I need a 7950 X3D, like, kind of just everything is very specific already. Then what we do is we actually have a handful of vendors that we work with to get the most competitive pricing. And then we take our knowledge of all these custom workstations we have built, like a lot of our Threadripper systems, both high end, low end, we customize all those, we plan those and built those. So we do the same for any customer that may need it. And that process is relatively simple if you already have it. And after we get that information from vendors, we provide, an effective, either hopefully an effective, cost-effective quote for you. And then we come back, get that equipment, we'll build it. And we even offer, if you're purchasing it, 1-year warranty to back on it. So anything that happens to that system, we cover you for the year. And that's VFXnow. We work with the manufacturers. We take the buffer out of the issues that you don't have to, so that you don't have to deal with them, and we'll take them on, make sure you have a good, reliable system. We love custom builds as well, because it's obviously hands-on, and at the end of the day, we're all hands-on people. And so I think it's really awesome to kind of see the difference of asks, the difference in needs, and it also helps us grow because a lot of customers, as their needs are ever changing, you see different systems requiring for different things, sometimes for the same workflow. Somebody might be editorial and they request one system completely different from the other person requesting another system. So it helps us grow and understand our clients, I think, better when custom workstations come to and ask.
That's a great answer. What are some of the notable projects that we've worked on that might be interesting to others to hear about?
Yeah, there's a handful. We have quite a bit of reoccurring customers, and some of their projects, differ. So one of the more recent ones that I was really excited to help out with was a car company developing their new car. And it's really awesome to see that the hardware we supplied actually developed the models for this car that were used to pitch and then grow and actually go forward and for them to sell. So it was really kind of awesome to do that. On top of that, another side of it is we're seeing a lot of production workflows use certain equipment such as storage for us, which has landed at the MSG Sphere right now. And they're taking in a lot of the production data and using the storage and then outputting to the Sphere. So this is really awesome kind of things. I mean, it changes through every customer. Between other projects with our pro services and things like that, my engineer has flown out to London numerous times to help our friends at Skydance and help them on a project that they were wrapping up. So out of the options and what we do, we've seen a lot of big scale M&E from features to episodic, and on the other side of it, we've seen a lot of individuals who are building brand VFX or they're their own entities for these larger projects. It really differs, but the beauty of it is we we truly get the opportunity to be involved with some of these projects in one way or another from the hardware that we can supply. And so, yeah, I mean, it's I've seen large, I've seen small, and I think those are really exciting when you see a lot of these companies developing on our systems and um, outputting something that is seen by the world, for example.
That's
So,
that's right. I think my favorite is we built a facility for a video game manufacturer in Tokyo, and we had to literally fly people to Tokyo to deal with the Japanese customs. This is a brand that's one of the biggest in Japan. And so they had to support us to get our equipment through customs. We built out a full facility with isolon storage, Arista switching, 15 or 30 workstations, all high end. Everybody was working in Tokyo. And then when COVID hit, they wouldn't allow people to enter the building. So we shut down that facility. People flew back to California. We reduced their rental rate to 50%. And then we built out the same facility in California. We built out another isolon system. We put another Arista switch in. We put another 15 or 30 workstations together, all the licensing servers, all the infrastructure, because the network had to be contained and separate than anything else because of the secrecy of the project. And for us to be able to build out two facilities so far apart and outside of Los Angeles and support them was amazing. And the funny thing is everybody thinks they want to go to Tokyo, and this is before COVID. Trying to get people to fly to Tokyo, even my friends who said that they wanted to go to Tokyo, it was really challenging. I wish I could have gone to Tokyo myself and done the work, but um, yeah, it was definitely one of those stories where it's super exciting. It's in a country that there's very little English and people are just over there working, and I don't know. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a buzz about the company as we're all supporting this through the ups and downs. And we've worked with this customer for nearly 15 years. So even the lows weren't that bad. It's just a quick 30-second phone call that reassure the client that we're on it, and we just executed. It was definitely fun. Um, yeah,
always fun.
yeah, it's always fun. Well, Jay, thank you for taking so much time to talk today, and it's always nice to catch up. Is
Absolutely.
there anything else that people should know? Any last words?
No, I mean, as much as famous last words, I should say, but as much as we want to push sales like that, we're also just a helping hand. And I just want to make sure that that's known. So if there's any workflow questions or anything, you're more than welcome to reach out to sales@vfxnow.com. And we love seeing those questions and comments. And And regardless if it uses our hardware or not, we're always happy to help you put you in the right direction or give you that extra information that maybe you're looking for to help you grow a solution. So I think the beauty of it is while we do have all these offerings, we're just a team of engineers who really enjoy being in this stuff and developing on this, and we want to make sure that that information supplies to you. So, don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything that even is going to use our services or not. We just want to be able to help you out regardless.
Amazing, Jay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.